Hello everyone. Hello everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Silhouette Spot for all things art, where I love sharing art from my heart. How is everyone tonight? Are you guys ready to paint? You guys ready to have some paint fun? What's with this hair? I'm ready to paint. I did paint all day yesterday, like my holiday shirt. Merry and bright. I did paint all day yesterday. So yesterday I was in an all-day painting workshop and painted it was virtual, from 10:30 in the morning until 7:30 last night, with a couple of barely 15-minute breaks. So there's a lot of painting going on. I did post, I don't know if I posted all my pictures. I know I posted 2 of them. I don't think I posted all 3 of them. So there were 3 projects that took a couple of hours, and then there was some little demos in between. So I nailed my poinsettia. Sometimes that's a little challenging, but I learned a trick from one of my painting friends, Pam, so that was good. I'm going to use it. Anyway, so nice to see you guys. So who is ready to paint the truck and tree? I have a picture up for myself so I don't forget any details. You all got a supply list. If you're here to paint, you got a supply list and a tracer. I don't know if you saw my video I posted. I posted it in the group and I posted it on my page. I showed you a few tricks to get your tracer onto your surface. I'm going to pull up the group on my phone. So if there's any comments, I'll be able to follow along, because I can't follow along here. But my phone does die. Not die. My phone goes to sleep. So then it's an issue seeing comments. I always have to keep going back. Let me get in there. And so when you come on, say hi. And if you have any questions as we paint along, let me know. Like I said, I will try and follow and see. I know my phone will go to sleep. We'll take a few minutes to dry, and then we will move along. So I'll try and keep up with comments, and that's it. So, like I said, you guys all got a supply list. Now, I know during these times, I really encourage people to use what you have. So if you wanted to paint it on cardstock, if you have a canvas, if you don't have a canvas, whatever it is, we're just here to learn a few painting techniques, have some fun, and chillax for about, we'll see how long it takes, a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half. Okay, so don't fret if, for example, if I'm using cardinal red and you have bright red, or I'm using classic green and you have bright green. It's not an issue. We can work it out, and you guys will see that our projects, our design, our art, our painting will all come together, and having an off color, because I know right now there's a shortage of paint. There's a shortage of brushes. People have gone craft wild, and that's a really good thing. That's great, because there are probably people out there who are doing crafts and painting who never would have started exercising the creative side of their brain. So that's a really good thing, because it's nice to just chill and create. So we are going to chill and paint. So let me get comfy here. I like to put my legs up like a pretzel. So I have transferred my design onto my canvas. I think you can see that, right? When I change my camera, you'll be able to see it. And we are going to get started. I think we'll get started with the background first. So let me change my camera. Let me pull this up. And I'm going to do the background with gray and white. Now, you don't need a lot of white. And if you don't have gray, put a drop of black in your white paint. And I'm going to use a light gray and some white. White is not completely necessary because our canvas is white. But as you know, there are a gazillion different colors of white. Weird, right? So I have my colors out on my plate. And really, if you go like this, it's about a quarter size of each paint, maybe a little bigger. And that's really all the paint you need. You don't need a lot. And for my background, I really don't need a lot. So I just put out a little bit of gray and white. And I'm going to dip my brush in both of these colors, trying to keep them as separate as possible. You see how I make a little runway there? I'm keeping the gray to one side and the white to the other side. And now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to do what's called, technically, the slip slap. And I'm just going to keep going in and dipping my gray in the gray and my white in the white. And without really any rhyme or reason, I'm doing my background. We want to get around our truck. When I do around the truck, I use the chisel end of the brush, that being the chisel end of the brush. And then I'm going to go back into, and don't worry if you get a little bit on your truck. If you're working on a canvas, we want to get around the sides. But don't worry if you get a little bit on your truck, because when we go back over it, when we do our red on our truck, it will cover right over the gray, so that's not a problem. Okay. And I just want to make, and see, my tree is up here somewhere. I'm just outlining my tree where I can see where I there we go, where I sketched it on here. So in my video I showed you guys, I use graphite paper to transfer my designs to my surface. You don't have to use graphite paper. I showed you a few tricks you can use that you can get your design with chalk, or even using a pencil rubbed on the back of your tracer. But you can go back and watch that video if you like and see how I did it. I want to get around the edges. If I don't do it now, I'll forget. And see, I'm not really, it was very difficult for me to become like a loosey-goosey painter like this. It's not easy, especially, some people would like everything very precise and laid out, and that was totally me. But I've gotten a lot looser with my painting. Okay. Then on the bottom, well, we have to get a little bit under the truck with the gray. And the white. I'm still using both colors on my brush and dipping in, flipping my brush over so I can get some gray and some white at the same time with the one brush stroke. On my bottom, I need more white. On my bottom, I'm going to do all white. Then I'm going to show you a little later when it dries how we can go in and make it look more like snow when the first layer of the white dries. Trying not to get paint all over my. I'm just checking for comments. Yep. Okay. So I put out a little extra white, and I'm just going to paint the entire bottom of the canvas white. I didn't even wash my brush. It doesn't matter because we are going to go in and add some accents down here after the white dries to make it look more like snow. So I'm just going in and painting a nice base coat of white on the bottom. Of our canvas. Sometimes I have to stop talking and think about what I'm doing. Sorry. So there we go. So we have our whole background in. That a little bit. And now we can wash our brushes. If you don't want to wash your brush, you can take out a different brush. I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go into the red. Okay? And then we have our background done. And we'll get, well, our base coat of our background done. And then we'll get started on our truck. So I have cardinal red. It's a deep red. I know on your list it said Deco Art paints, and that's fine. I have Deco Art, but I mostly use, I do have Deco Art. Raspberry, no, I use a raspberry. Santa Red. And I'm going to use my cardinal red in my paints that I have out. And like I said, you can use any kind of red that you want, that you have. If you don't even want a red truck, if you want to make a teal truck or a black truck or a gray truck, it's your truck. Go right ahead. So I'm going to pick up my red paint, and this time we're just picking up the red. And I'm going to go in and start painting my truck. And like I said, this is all just base coat. And you think your red is not getting enough coverage, that's okay. Red tends to be a little translucent. And when we go in and add in all the details, it will be fine. See, I picked up some of my gray and white. I'm not even fretting about that. It's all okay. I do want to go a little bit around the windows. I tell my kids that I paint with, I do a group of kids monthly, and I tell them all the time, I paint like I color. The first thing I do is go in and establish my borders. When I color with crayons, I do that too. First thing I do is go in and make all my lines so I know what I'm going to be coloring that color. And it helps me stay in the lines when I do my base coat. And now I can just go in and add the paint. I try to keep all my strokes. Yes, it's one color, and yes, it's a truck, but I try to keep all my strokes going the same way. So if you started out your painting going this way, continue going horizontally. If you started your painting out going vertically like I am, continue going vertically, because it does make a difference. And depending on what you're painting, you want to go with the flow, with the shape of your design too. In this case, we can go horizontally or vertically, but sometimes depending on if you're painting a flower or a tree or an animal, you want to paint in the direction that the feathers would go, or the leaves would go, or whatever. So I like to keep, in this instance, I'm going to keep all my strokes going up and down. Of course, except when I get up here, and I just have to fill in this little area. Now you can switch to a smaller brush to get up in here if you want. I'm okay with this big brush for now. While we're just doing the base coat, I might switch to a littler brush later. But for now, I'm okay with this brush. Okay. So That's where we're at. We have our background base coated in, and now we have our truck base coated in. Yeah, just checking. Seems to be going okay. See if anybody has any questions. Now, once again, I'm not even going to rinse my brush, but I'm going to go into black. And don't forget, if I'm moving along too fast for you guys, this recording is going to stay here. It'll be in this event, and it will be on my page. So if you want to paint it again, if you have something to do, or there's a show on you want to go watch and you can't finish tonight, you will have access to this video, and you will be able to come back and paint it at your leisure. It's not going to go anywhere. So if you come in late, or you're ready for bed, or whatever, you get called away, don't worry. You'll be able to have access to this video and continue your painting or paint another one. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my black with my dirty brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit on the ends. And this is where I'm going to go into shading because it's a vintage truck. So we want it to be vintagey, antique-y, old, right? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some black where I think there would be black shading on this truck. And don't worry. We're going to blend all this in. Okay? A little bit for the handle. The corner of the brush for the handle. Okay? If you want more shading on yours, if you want to add more black to yours, you can go right ahead. Those are the areas I'm going to shade for now, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay? Now, still with my dirty brush. Excuse me. Still with my dirty brush. I'm going to go back in. Let me get some more red out. This is why I put my brush in my mouth. This is why I have paint on the shoulders of all my shirts, because I'll put my brush in my mouth and then I'll turn around and look for stuff and do stuff. Before you know it, I have dots of paint on both my shoulders. So I'm getting out some more red paint. My other phone finally came on. There we go. Okay, my old phone. So anyway, I put out a little bit of red paint, and I'm still using the dirty brush. And now I'm kind of mixing the red and the black a little bit. So I'm picking up red, and then I'm going to go in. Oh, too much. Pick up more red. I want more red than black, so I wiped all the black off, and I went back and picked up red. And now we're just going to go in and blend with the red where we added the black. More red. And I always tell my peeps, you have to wait till we go in and add in all the details to see how cool your picture is going to look at the end. You can't judge a picture during the process. You have to wait until it's finished. Because you'll be surprised. You'll be painting and painting and painting, and then you'll be surprised at the end how it all just comes together when you start adding all the little details. And this is why I also said to you, it really didn't matter if your red covered or not, because when we came back in and added the shading, you're going to see it totally different. If you have too much black, pick up more red. If you have too much red, pick up more black. It's totally up to you. And when you're blending, you want to do wet on wet. So it works much better if your paint is still wet underneath. Not to say that you should be like putting it on heavy, but if you think I'm going too fast, that's the beauty of having the video, because if you think I'm going too fast, if you go back and you want to work on it yourself, you'll be able to pause the video and start and stop at your own pace. So I might want to add a little bit more red to this, but I'm going to wait for it to dry, and then we'll see how it looks and come back to it. Okay? So that's my vintage red truck. So now I am going to rinse my brush. Might even go to a smaller brush too. I think I'm going to move to this size brush now. This is what I call a number 16. It's about a 1/2 inch wide, the flat brush. Okay. And while we're still doing our black, I'm going to pick up black and I'm going to do the whole tire in black. We're going to go back in later and add the centers to our tires. But for now, you can just do the whole tire black. Then we're going to go onto our tree. We'll let that dry, and then we'll come back to it. Okay? So I did my last in-person paint party for this year the other night. I'm going to start back up in January, hopefully. So I really enjoy doing the in-person parties. I like doing these too, but I really enjoy the in-person parties. They're so much more personable. Okay, so I'm going to, while you dry, I'm going to pick this up so you guys can get a nice full-on view of my truck. So I did the white background on the bottom. I did a mixture of gray and white under the truck and all on the top. I did the truck body with a base of red and then added black for shading. And now we're going to move into the tree. So I'm going to rinse my brush again. I'm going to stick with this smaller brush that I picked up. Usually I try to stick to 3 brushes. A wide one for base coating, a smaller one for, I guess, more detailed work, and then always, although it's fuzzy when I do it, what do you say it? And then a liner brush, which is a very small brush, or I guess I have one, a little, well, this is a liner brush as well, or I think, do I have a little round brush? Thought I did, maybe they're over here. You should see how many brushes I have, you guys. It's crazy. Well, it's not really crazy because I paint. Anyway, or then maybe like a, no, that's not even. No, where's a round brush? Oh, there's a round brush. Okay. Or a round brush like this, but a skinnier one. So I use usually, like I said, a wide flat. Oh, let me show you this way. So I use a wide flat, a narrower flat for details, and then a smaller brush, a liner brush or a small round brush or one of these. And those are like usually my go-to brushes. Now we're going to do our tree. Okay, so I'm going to get my smaller brush. I rinsed it out in the water. I'm going to get this water out now. I'm going to dry it off by sandwiching it between the paper towels. And I'm going into my one dark green. And so if you want your tree lighter, you can do your tree with a lighter color. I'm starting out with a darker color, but we're going to add at least 2 other shades of green to our tree. So if you start with light on the bottom, then you're going to go back in with dark. If you start with the dark, we're going to go back in with the light. So I'm choosing to start with dark. And like I said, I always outline. I paint like I color. And we move around because we're basically waiting for paint to dry. So I switch around from section to section. We did the truck, now we're waiting for the base of our truck to dry, and now we're moving over to the tree. I picked up a little red, but I don't mind that because once we add all the colors, all the other greens to our tree, it won't matter. Okay? And we're going to do some blending again with our tree. So it's wet. I'm going to put out, I have here some lime green, and really only need like a little bit of each, maybe a dime. I started out, what I say before, a quarter. So that's a little bright. I might not use lime green. I'm definitely going to use this classic green. It's like a medium green. And then I'm going to use this light green. And like I said, we're still waiting for our truck to dry for the details. I'm going to use this same dirty brush, and I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to get some of this medium green, and I'm just going to go in and start pouncing this medium green in places. We want a variety of greens on our tree. Okay, dirty brush, still with the dirty brush. I'm going to go in, I'm going to pick up this other green. I'm going to go in, and I'm adding that to the tree as well. See that? We want all different shades. We want the dark shade we started out with. And I might, I put it out. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, that looks okay. Just a little sparingly. I'm going to put this in there too. Lime green. Okay? And that's it. That's it for our tree for now. Put that aside and rinse my brush. Now what we want to do is avoid having pink. So I want to get in and I want to do my windows with a little gray. And like I said before, if you don't have gray or if you ran out of gray, just mix a tiny bit of white, a tiny bit of black with your white, and you can get some gray. But really, a tiny, tiny drop. And I'm being a little careful in here. I'm using this smaller brush because, like I said, we want to avoid making pink. But I think around my window here is pretty dry. We're still going to go in and add highlights to that later. Pick up a little bit more gray and just do the inside of this window too. Okay. Then still with the gray in my brush, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put a circle inside the middle of my tires. Okay, it doesn't matter. If it gets a little big on you, that's fine because we are still going to add white around that too. Okay. Just keep checking to make sure that we don't have any questions. I hate to miss a question or concern. So, how's you guys doing? I think I'm waiting for my truck to dry a little more. I want to go in here and add a little bit of black where I had it before and blended it with the red. Very lightly though, around the fenders, just giving it a little bit more definition to the shading around the fenders. I'm doing the little back bit, which would be like the back of the bumper here. This little bit of the running board, and very, very light. We still want our black to mix. I'm going to go back in with the corner of my brush and add my door handle back in. Okay. And now we can let it dry a little bit more. If you guys have a hair dryer and you want to hit yours with a hair dryer, it's up to you. I shrunk up my tracer to fit 11 by 14 and it just barely made it. So I wanted to just fix the end of my canvas a little bit there. Okay. I'm gonna rinse my brush because I got it all full of red. My truck literally goes from end to end. The tracer was originally, I think, for 11 by 19, and I shrunk it up to fit on this 11 by 14. Okay? So while we wait for that, I'm going to show you, I'm going to start adding snow to the top. I need a little bit more white. There are a couple ways to do snow, but I'm going to do it like this. So I'm still waiting for my truck to dry because when we go back over and we do all the details on our truck, you want the white really fresh. You want to avoid getting pink, and you want your highlights to stand out. So while I wait for my truck to dry a little bit more, we will go back in and we're going to add highlights to the truck and snow to the truck and the tree. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some snow to the top of my painting. And all I'm doing is dipping in the paint with the back of my brush. and going in. And once, if you do 2 or 3 dots, you are automatically going to get different sizes as you run out of paint. Your first dot will be the biggest, and your last dot will be the smallest. Okay? Then I'm going to pick up the white again because my black is dry. And I'm going to go in here and put a little bit of white. So I'm using the brush on the flat, but I'm doing like a scrubbing motion because I want to get rid of this harsh line here. So I'm moving my brush up and down on the flat. Turn it over to get some more paint, just to give it a little uneven texture here under the truck, so it gives it more of a three-dimensional look. Gets rid of that fine line and makes it look more, it's basically realistic with the snow. So you're using it on the flat. Once in a while I come up on the corner, and you want it to be a little bit three-dimensional, and go straight across the bottom, going over your tire a little bit, as if the truck was sitting in the snow. So I'm on the flat, pushing up and down like a scrubbing motion, and once in a while I'll turn it on the corner. I'm tapping here where the black is to get a little bit more coverage. Okay? There we go. Gives a little bit more realistic look to the truck and sitting like it's parked in the snow. Okay? To get out some more white. Righty. And using the same brush I was just using, we're going to start adding some white highlights to our truck. Okay? And when we do this, so here's mine. When we add the snow and the highlights to our truck, we basically want to add the snow and the highlights where snow would naturally lay. So if this was your car and it was out in the snow, where would you have to be cleaning off all the snow from? So obviously it would be on the fenders, it would be up here on the hood, around the tires, maybe in the corner here where the tree is. And that is our goal, is to like visualize pockets on the truck where the snow would automatically lay as it fell. Okay? So, I think I'm going to use my liner brush for this. It's not thick enough. I'll pick up another one. So, I'm getting out my white paint on my liner brush, and we're going to go in and see how I'm like wiggling my brush. I'm wiggling to get it thicker, but as I get up to the top, I want it thinner. And the same thing here. In the corner, I'm going to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle for it to build up. And then as I come around, I'm going to make it thinner. And I'm going to do that in all the areas. So like here in this corner where the fender would be, I'm wiggling it to make it a little thick. And then as I come up on the fender, I'm getting a little thinner with my brush. back here too. And I'm always moving my piece around. I'm sorry if I make you guys crazy or dizzy. I'm always moving my piece around. It's so much easier for me to work. So here again, I'm going to show you guys. I have my liner brush. I'm putting it on a little bit of the flat. I'm wiggling it to make it a little thick. When I get into the corner, I'm going to keep wiggling and pull up so it gets thinner. And that's how you want to do your snow. I'm going to do it along the hood. And I always find it easier to pull. So I'm usually putting my artwork where my stroke is more of a pulling than it is a pushing. And then probably a little bit along the roof up here. Okay. A little bit on the handle. A little bit up here where the window is. Definitely in here on the back of the truck bed. Even here. So I started thick in the corner. As I move my way out, I get a little thinner. Back here on the bumper. I think I'm going to add it to the whole truck bed here. And a couple of them, I'll bring it down a little bit more. As I pull and wiggle across the back of the truck. I'm going to add a little bit of glare to the glass just by doing like a little backwards comma stroke. And then I'm going to go in and I want to add some white around my gray on my tires. I made my gray a little bit too thick. I wanted to add white around it anyway, and I'm adding white and making the gray a little narrower, skinnier. See what I mean about using nice fresh white? You want really nice fresh white. Okay? Oops. Okay. And I'm going to go back in. I just want to add a few little comma strokes to my tires, just to give them a little highlight too. All right. And then we're going to work on our tree. So, what do you guys think so far? Now, if you wanted your truck lighter or darker, all you have to go in, you can go in and add a little bit more red to it, add a little bit more black to it. You can add copper to it. It's your truck. So. Okay. Like I said, you guys will have access to this video. This video will stay up, and including the tracer and the supply list. If you want to come back, your kids are off, you want to paint it over the holiday. If your kids are off all the time. I try to be positive. But you want to paint it at your leisure. If you got called away, if you can't paint quickly or as quickly as me, whatever. So you'll have it. You'll have access to the video. You can paint it as your leisure whenever you want. And it'll be here for you. And this is going to be a monthly occurrence. So if you like my page and you follow me on Facebook at Teresa Silhouette Spot for all things art, I will be posting our free class for January soon. So can't tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be a surprise, but I will post it. So look for that, and we'll get together again. I believe. So I go live every Tuesday and Thursday, and doing a demo, working on something, or whatever. What did I do this week? Oh, I know. I did that Believe sign this week. That was really. I didn't see it. I loved it. But anyway, so my free class is going to be on Thursdays, once a month. So I'll be posting that soon. But anyway, let's get to our tree. Now we have to put snow on our tree. And it's basically the same way. I'm going to use my liner brush. I'm picking up the white paint. And I'm going to follow along the edge of the tree with my liner, pulling down, lifting up to make it skinnier. And some places have more paint, and some places will have less. So if you want it to be thicker, you use it on the flat. If you want it to be thinner, you pull up a little bit. And I'm just going back and forth with my liner brush and a little bit of a scrubbing motion, adding snow to the top part of my tray. Okay, and then I'm going in, still with the liner brush, still with a decent amount of paint, and I'm just going to go in and add some swirls. Some of my green is a little wet yet. That's it, just a little bit of a swirly mark every so often to give the look of snow on our branches of our tree in the back of our truck. Kind of like a little M, a little scribble, whatever. Yeah. Okay. And while I have it, I'm going to go in. I'm going to use the same brush I used the first time for the snow up top. I'm going to dip the back in my white. And now I'm going to add snowflakes to my tree. To my truck. And like I said, if you add three, four little dots with one dip, the dots automatically get smaller. Now, if you wanted to put a name on your door, you can. If you wanted to put the year on your door, you can. I'm not a real good letterer. I need to admit that. But, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And that's it. So, what do you guys think? That was fun, right? Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, anyway, that's it for tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to put in the comments. I will check back. I will check back and answer all your questions and concerns. Thank you for joining me tonight for this virtual vintage truck and tree paint party. I love sharing art from my heart. I think you guys can tell that. And I will be posting the design for January probably next week, as I'm having to choose. I might have to end up picking out of a hat. But yeah, so what we're going to do on a Thursday night for free in January. And here you guys go. If you need a screenshot. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. When you get done, please show your pictures. No judgment zone. It's all about being positive. So please share your pictures. I would love to see what you came up with. If you're stuck on something, I will be more than happy to help. And if you were creative and or decided to do a different color truck, love to see that too. So thank you guys. Stay safe and sane, and I will talk to y'all soon.